Hi, my name is Pinky Gilani. You are watching Pinky TV. This is What Women Want, and if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to this channel. And if you comment below and nominate a superhero within your community, you could win a phone from Safaricom. Today we are joined by a superhero who's quite a phenomenal woman, Madhvi Dalal, who's a pharmacist, a dancer, a yoga instructor, a social entrepreneur, Reiki Master, and a multiple award winner. She's the founder of PadMad, and very often you'll find her in the company of somebody called Eliud Kipchoge. Hi, Madhvi.
Hi, Pinky.
Thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
I mean, despite you being so busy, everywhere all the time, you found some time to hang out with us and answer a few questions. So
My
I'm very
pleasure.
grateful. So what is PadMad?
So PadMad is, now we call it a social enterprise. It started off as just a project from home with goodwill, but now it's a social enterprise dealing with period poverty. So we have a few things going on. One main thing is education for boys and girls and communities, and we also have a reusable product.
Wow, which you've created locally.
Yeah.
That's amazing. How can we, anybody who's watching, you and I mean, you're probably ahead of the game than I am, but how can we normalize the conversation around periods?
So I think, Pinky, for us, it's not how can we must. As a society, from our generation onwards, we must normalize it. I think the easiest way is to start a dialogue. You know, to be able to be comfortable to start a dialogue, whether it's positive, whether it's cultural views, social views, economical views. But it's important to start a dialogue and see other people's input. And, you know, it's not a matter of debating, it's just a matter of being aware of what happens, what is normal and what is quantified as normal, and just to make it into a healthy conversation.
Do you think, Madhvi, as women, we've been sort of skewed to believe that being on your period is dirty? I mean, for me, and I know you're a spiritual person as well. I don't know if you believe in this, but this is something that I suddenly strongly started believing, is that when you are on your period, it's an almost magical cycle. I mean, this is a time where you can create life, and you know, it's all coming through the same sort of channels or avenues. And do you think the narrative has been skewed so that we dislike and therefore can't normalize the conversation as quickly as we should?
Yeah, absolutely. Nail on the head, basically. And, you know, I was brought up this way.
Yeah.
I was brought up to, you know, I wasn't told about my first period. I wasn't encouraged to speak about it or to even talk about PMS or anything which goes with it.
Yeah.
And that went on for quite a while. And the other thing is, you know, when we go into religious beliefs or cultural beliefs, what does that entail? You know, there's so many things which come with it. You can't go to the temple, or
the kitchen. Some
people you can't even touch your own family members, or sleep in a different room. You know, in the Philippines, I know some cultures actually have a different hut for kids who are menstruating. And that's not something we should be encouraging, for various reasons. But also, you know, I've had these conversations with leaders who are religious or spiritual, and basically it's up to us to use our own intelligence, you know, emotional intelligence involved, to say, okay, what do we feel is correct? Is this chafu? Is it dirty? Or are you feeling okay? You know, because with yoga we have this whole chakra, and you said, you know, you feel creation, you know, and that is creation. That is where the baby is formed. So what I usually tell when I give my workshops, what I usually tell people, you know, if you think, how many of you think this is dirty? Put your hands up. And how many of you think this is clean? And I would guarantee 98% think it's dirty, right? Girls and boys think it's dirty. When you ask the boys why do they think it's dirty, they would probably say maybe because it's waste, it comes out. So, well, that's acceptable. Girls say, well, it's, you know, it smells sometimes, or it's just dirty because it's dirty.
Yeah.
And then I try and tell them, okay, if fertilization doesn't happen, this is what, you know, period happens. Yeah. If fertilization does happen,
a baby comes
this is the same blood which is actually going to nourish this embryo fetus into a baby, which will have nails, liver, eyelashes, all these things, is being nourished by the same blood.
Yeah.
So in that, and coming from there, my opinion is very nutritious blood.
Yeah.
And in fact, in the olden days, apparently the yogis on the mountains, they used to put period blood on their third eye.
No way.
Yes, that's what I've read.
Wow.
To get intuition. And I can see it because the chakra here, the second chakra, is with creativity. It comes with the whole water element. It comes with a lot of extra, left brain, right brain. Mm-hmm. So I think that would be correct. They even say that if a plant is dying and you put period blood on the dying plant, eventually it'll revive.
Wow.
Not tried, not tested.
You've
but
not tried it?
I kind of feel that
I'm
this is
go try this.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
exactly. It's something we could
try it and comment. Let us know what you think, whether it works or not. Yeah.
And, the myths about it's dirty because it smells. You have to also factor in infections. You have to factor in so many other things which are resulting in this. It's quite important to tell the girl or the boy that the blood which you cut on your skin is the same blood.
Yes.
It's the blood which is ours. It doesn't have to be dirty. Mm-hmm. So I think what Kipchoge says is that the woman is everything that a man is, but extra because she has a womb.
Wow.
And that womb is the power, is the
wow.
which is extra.
I mean, because you brought him up, I'm going to ask you, how did you get him involved in something that is such a sensitive subject, and in a way that he, a very looked up to, very powerful male person in an African society, to talk about periods, and to also be that person who's empowering women, because he's so open about this conversation.
I mean, I think it wasn't me. I think it was his heart is in the right place. He's really promoting education, especially for girls, in that he's understanding. This is post-COVID, or during COVID rather, actually, when he was doing, his Eliud Kipchoge Foundation, and he was working with the societies and understanding what the challenges are, and the girls getting pregnant. And he realized that these girls are not going to come back to school. And that's when he really felt that, we must do something. And then when he studied the product and the education, he really thought, well, okay, this is giving them a solution, so let me work with it. And honestly, Pinky, he's all there. Every time we need support, he's always there. And in fact, we have a big project going on. It's ongoing for a few years in Samburu. And so when he came with us to Samburu, I was there giving my lecture, and then he came and he literally transformed the whole crowd. They were glued to what he was saying. Obviously, he was saying, things which were so powerful. Then I left, and when I went back to the kind of same group about 2 or 3 months later, they may not have remembered anything I said, but they totally remembered that, stay in school, this is what you need. Be proud of who you are. You're a woman, you have the power, education is your best friend, all these things. And
wow.
And that's what we need. That's how you transform and give hope to girls. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, that's something that's a project of yours. How does it feel when you see something that, like you said, it started off at home, and maybe it was just something that you were like, okay, let me help a few ladies or a few girls out, and now it's evolving into something that is much bigger than you?
Yeah, exactly. I feel very blessed because, when I think of when there's a challenge and I think, oh, I wish I had somebody to help me with this, and suddenly, people just come and, donors flow in. So I feel blessed that way, but I also feel that there's this much bigger situation going on. I mean, I won't talk about Padma just directly, but I'll talk about, gender-based violence right now with Agnes Tirop, and everybody's saying, we must do something. And I was just thinking last night, exactly what are these people asking for? What must other people do? In my opinion, yes, you can make policies or make laws about gender-based violence, but eventually you would be the victim if you allow that. Nobody else can come and tell you, stop this, stop that. So now the way I'm thinking about PADMAD and period poverty, it's really, instead of just understanding the issue, I think it's very important for me to be responsible enough to make sure that the girls are getting empowered enough to say, this is what I'm going through, I'm not going to be ashamed, and this is how I'm going to solve this myself. It's not about economy, it's not about accessibility anymore, it's about, you know, my motto is bleed with pride, period. So that's basically, I think that's where this is heading now. Yeah.
And how does it, I mean, what does it take for you, who's an Indian person living in Kenya, going into grassroots Kenya, you know, like you said, Samburu, other places that you've been, and speaking to women about what people would consider as traditionally a taboo topic, and getting them comfortable enough to say, okay, we want to listen to you and we want to learn from you?
So I don't just, you know, my main requirement is that when I say I'm going to a school or a community, I make sure that the headmaster is going to have the boys and girls. And almost 90%, they say, no, boys don't even do science together. The boys are not going to be there. It's only the girls. And I always say, if they're not going to be there, I'm not coming. So it's my job to break the ice. But I have a really, really success story, which I love to share. So there was one time I was told to go to Isiolo. And at that time, there was trouble there. So even to get there, I needed a bulletproof car and, you know, entourage and all that. So when I finally got to Isiolo and to the school, all I had asked was for the boys and the girls to be there from the secondary school, and then I would have done my thing. And, you know, it was so crazy. There was, you know, tree planting and all these formalities. Mm-hmm. There was, like, in the Moi time, you know, there was a tent for all the dignitaries and the tent for
everyone else sitting on the side,
And so when I started my dialogue with the girls and boys, I realized they'd invited the parents, whoever wanted to come, the chiefs, and the teachers, who were all part of this whole congregation, and there was a lot of press. And they were not used to outside people, not used to brown skin, not used to a little girl coming to, you know, to talk to them. So I was a bit overwhelmed, but at the end, the chiefs were asking questions, you know, the parents were asking questions, the girls were not shy, and the reason why is, I think, because it had just not been spoken about before, and they had questions. And suddenly there's light on something which, you know, nobody was talking about. And my whole point of being there was to open a platform so there's a healthy conversation whilst I'm there. But when I'm gone, at least girls can have peer-to-peer conversations. You know, today I don't feel good, is this normal? Or I make the boys pledge that they won't tease. I make sure the teachers are there to understand what the girls actually go through. So that was my big success story, because after I left, you know, it was in the press for a long time locally, and people were talking about it. And now it's one of the places I keep going to because it worked out really well. And by the way, that was during Ramadan.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And predominantly Muslim culture. And it was during Ramadan, and they were ready to listen to somebody from the outside talking about periods. So, yeah.
How important is it that we empower our young girls?
I think it is 100% important to empower our young girls, but equally, through this journey, I felt the boys are also kind of getting left out. So I work a lot in West Pokot, and so during COVID, what happened was, yes, girls got pregnant because of various reasons during COVID, and then there's a law in this country that the girls have to go back to school within the 2 years.
Okay.
At the same time, young boys, started driving boda bodas.
Oh.
And there is no licensing requirement, no age limit. So they started, you know, riding boda bodas and renting them for a very small price. And then they started earning money. So they never needed to actually want to go back to school.
Sure.
And there's no law to bring them back to school. So I think it's important for us to empower the girls, but really definitely not to forget the boys, because now slowly NGOs are, you know, there's so many SDGs about girls and you know, all this. I think we must not forget empowering the boys also. I can see it coming to light slowly.
And how do you suggest, like anybody watching, how do we involve the boys in empowerment?
I think we just do not segregate. I think the segregation is what is causing us this ill fit.
Yeah.
I think we just give all the information. Education is key. That's the end of everything. Instead of giving handouts, give hand up. Give them education of how you can help yourself, but don't segregate boys, girls, old, young. Just allow them to have the same information.
So anybody who's watching and wants to support PadMad, how do they do that?
We would be very grateful for any kind of support, not just monetary, starting dialogues on your own forums, or, looking for sponsors, or giving us any kind of feedback, etc., etc. We would really like that. Anything is good. We have social media. On Facebook, it's PadMad. On Instagram, it's padmad_KE. And we have a website, padmadkenya.com. So please get in touch and we could direct you to anything you can do.
Okay, what's the most unusual thing you've eaten?
Most unusual thing I've eaten is, I think, courgette noodles.
That's all right. What was your favorite subject in school?
Math.
Why?
Just because I was good at it.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have to be, I'm Indian, I have to be, it's my default.
You have to be good in everything. What kitchen appliance do you use daily?
A spatula, because I make dosas almost on a 3-hourly basis.
Really? Dosas?
Yeah.
You have to invite us for. Who's the most intelligent person you know?
My little daughter. She's 7 years old, but she has emotional intelligence and her IQ is, very high.
She's Indian.
That's
right. What's the most daring thing you've done?
Most daring thing is probably scuba diving. Yeah. It wasn't easy for me because of my sinuses, but it was fun.
So we're going beyond with Safaricom, and we recognize our superheroes in our community. So I'm going to ask you some superhero questions. Do you run towards a problem or away from a problem?
I think I fly towards a problem.
And where does that come from?
I think it's just me. My parents were asked to give, both my mum and dad were told to say one word about me. So my mum said, "Oh, determined." My dad said, "Impossible." I think just generally it's in me. Yeah.
You're headstrong. Mm-hmm. Does your schedule reflect your priorities?
Absolutely, yes.
Is that important?
Completely.
Why?
That generates me, because otherwise I couldn't do half the things that I can manage. My schedule's in my head. I don't have a diary, but I know what needs to be done. Yeah.
What would you rather, strength or speed, and why?
I think strength for sure, because that's who I am. I'm also quite speedy, but living in Kenya, I have learned to work with time in a more relaxed manner. Yeah.
Go slow, go slow. What stops you from doing something?
What stops me from doing something is when there is something which I think may be unfair. Yeah. And consciously.
What drives you, finally?
What drives me at present, I think it may be, what drives me right now is period poverty, the actual thing, what period poverty defines, the stories I hear about the girls and the real life stresses and tensions that girls go through. That's what drives me at present. But otherwise, I have other spiritual inclinations, which are different.
Do superheroes get periods?
All superheroes get periods, even in the pandemic.
Of course, the show is brought to you by SBM Bank, so it makes sense to talk about money. I'm going to ask Madhvi to pull a money card so we can find out a little bit about you and a little bit about you. Yes, you can.
Ooh.
It's not difficult. Is it difficult?
No.
What does happiness feel like for you? A nice question.
It's a nice question, but it's a tough one. I think happiness for me is when the people around me are happy, but also I draw a lot of joy not sounding cliche, but I draw a lot of joy when I know today I have to go for a workshop somewhere. Because it's a nice adventure. I get to, travel, and I also get to kind of, people define happiness in different ways, but there are so many stories I hear out there which are so challenging from my point of view, but yet those girls are happy, and yet they're joyful, and yet they're, they're just free.
Yeah.
So that's my definition of real happiness. Yeah.
Is there one thing that you regret spending money on?
No, not really.
Really?
No,
No Indian guilt? You know how sometimes we're like,
I'm not a spender. I prefer to stay with my stuff from. I haven't changed size for I think since I was 12. So
Wow.
no. Yeah, the only thing I like to spend on is holidays, so I never regret that.
I can't regret a holiday.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Madhvi, and continue being that superhero that we're all looking up to. And if you do want to support, we'll make sure that we link the details below as well. So your chance to win with Safaricom is right now. If you have subscribed to this YouTube channel, then you're up ahead in front of everyone else. What you need to do though is comment on this video and let us know who you think in your community is a superhero. If you want to win it that much more, what you need to do is share this video on your social media platforms and make sure you tag us so we know that you have shared. And who knows, you could win a phone with Safaricom. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.